Hey, how's it going everyone, and welcome back to the channel in another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today we're going to be diving into my 1-key Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss team. It's a setup that's really been crushing it lately, it's super consistent, so it might just help you get to the point of being able to 1-key Ultra Nightmare as well. Alright, so for our team breakdown, we're going to be using Helicath, Demytha, Seeker, Ninja, and Helicath the Fat. This comp is built around block damage synergy and turn manipulation, so we're going to have to just break down why each pick here matters. Alright, so let's break down why I picked each champion here. So for Helicath, in my opinion, he's just best in class for block damage, and he also brings a weaken debuff on his A1, which boosts our overall team damage. For the Fat Man, he delivers an ally attack with strong debuffs and serves as our stun target to help keep the rotation clean. For Demytha, I mainly picked her because she fills the gap in Helicath's block damage, ensuring full coverage and smooth cycling. I picked Seeker because he provides an increased attack and turn meter manipulation, and he helps keep the team in sync and speeding up our damage input. For Ninja, I picked him because there's no other champion in the game that kills a boss like he does. He does super good damage to the clan boss, and he will be our main damage dealer for the fight. Okay, so beginning the team breakdown, we're going to be starting with Helicath the Fat. As you can see, I do not have a neck piece or a ring on him, so just to keep his stats as low as possible, because we need him to be our stun target. So for HP, running him at 26,000, for defense, running him at 1,500. As long as those are lower than everyone else, it really does not matter what they're at. The thing that's very important is to have him at 249 speed, and as high accuracy as possible, just to help him land his debuffs. For his skills, two that are most important. First off, we got Beatdown, places a 30% increased crit rate and increased crit damage buff on all allies except this champion for 3 turns. Then all allies except this champion will attack one target enemy. This next one is a Brand of Shame, attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance of placing HP burn debuff and 2 5% poison debuffs for 2 turns. Booked, this is 100%. And then I do also have Phantom Touch on him at level 2, just for a little bit of extra damage. For his masteries, we just went with the classic War Master setup, and with just a little bit of support here. Just as a side note, you cannot have any masteries that increase turn meter. Any masteries that will increase their turn meter will throw the speed tune off. Okay, next champion on the list is Demytha. She is the fastest person on the team, running her at 278 speed. Besides that, nothing else really matters. The 278 speed is the most critical. For her skills, we don't use her A2 at all, but we use her A3. Places a block damage buff on all allies for 1 turn, and then places a continuous heal for them for 2 turns. I do have a 5-star Phantom Touch blessing on her. I got very lucky pulling this, so it helps out with the damage on the team a lot. For her masteries, again, just classic War Master setup. I never finished off her masteries because I was too afraid that if I kept going, you would get a turn meter buff like this. Rapid response, increasing turn meter by 10%. We do not want anything like that to be happening, so that's why I just never finished this off. Okay, for the next champion, we have Seeker. We're running him at 255 speed. For his skills, we've got his passive, places the increased defense. It really does not apply for our team, but the big part is Tailwind, fills the turn meter of all allies by 30% and places a 50% increased attack buff on all allies for 2 turns, and then grants an extra turn. Again with him, I do have Phantom Touch, just for the little bit of extra damage. And again with him, I never finished off his masteries either. We just left it at War Master. Okay, moving on to our next champion here, we have Helicath. You can use Roshkard, the tower, instead. They both have places a block damage buff on all allies for 2 turns on a 4-turn cooldown when booked. So you can use Roshkard instead if you don't have Helicath, but Helicath is going to do more damage than Roshkard will. We were running our Helicath at 246 speed, good defense, good HP. I also do have him built 100% crit rate. One thing to watch out for is the passive effect on Devoted Servants. Whenever a block damage buff placed on an ally by this champion is removed, stolen, or expires, places a 60% increased defense buff on that ally for 2 turns. While playtesting this team, I was having an issue where Demytha, using her A2, would buff extend that increased defense on Ferric and the Fat, so that way Seeker would take the stun. So I do turn off this in the team when we do the auto team, just so that doesn't happen and ensures that Ferric will take the stun. For his masteries, again, just went with the War Master just for the extra damage, and then I never finished it off just because I haven't needed to, because I really only use him for clan boss. For a big damage dealer, the team is Ninja. We are running our Ninja at 246 speed, 100% crit rate, not very good crit damage, 299 accuracy, and 3.2 attack. For his skills, Scion Slash attacks all enemies, places a freeze, doesn't really matter for us. The part that really matters is when targeting a boss, will only attack the boss, not all enemies, and will ignore 50% of the target's defense. Will also decrease the cooldown of Hail Burn by 1 turn. Hail Burn attacks 3 times at random. Each hit has a 75% chance of placing an HP burn debuff for 3 turns. Also places a perfect veil on this champion for 2 turns. When used against bosses, will instantly activate any HP burn debuffs, including HP burn debuffs placed by this skill. So this perfect veil also helps so that way he's not the target of these stun. So that way the boss really can't see him. And then his A1 attacks 1 enemy, has a 45% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense buff for 2 turns. Also fills this champion's turn meter by 15% while used against bosses. So I did have to slow Ninja down specifically because of this skill. So if you're going to be using another person to do damage, you're just going to have to do the math and figure out what that 15% is in terms of speed. I believe you just have to bring your champion up to 250 instead of 246 and it'll be fine. I also have a Brimstone on him, just for a little bit of extra damage when that pops off in a boss. For masteries, again, War Master. And then I tried to go for the counter attack on accident when I first did this, until I realized that he had that turn meter boost, so we could not do it. Alright, let's look at the team setup. I have it so that way it'll run 100% on auto, just you need to hit the start on auto button and it'll completely run. So for Helicath, you just need him to open up with his A1. Ferric and the Fat, you need him to turn 1 to go for beatdown, and then Brand of Shame. For Ninja, you need him to have Scion Slash Focus first, Hailburn second. Demytha has to open up with Channel of the Bloodline and turn off Light of the Deep, where it will increase the duration of the increased defense. It'll change your stun target from Ferric to Seeker, and we cannot have Seeker take a stun. And then for Seeker, we just need him to open up with his A1, and then everything will be good. Alright, and there you have it. That's the team, that's the setup, and the strategy behind my 1-key Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss comp. Now sit back, enjoy the run, and I hope this build helps you push further in Clan Boss and snag those juicy rewards. If you found this helpful, drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more raid content and team breakdowns. Catch you in the next one.